Continuing coverage now of our top story after Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu said he has piles of proof that Iran had nuclear weapons program when officials there claim they didn't. Let's bring in Michael Singh, former senior director for Middle East Affairs, the National Security Council, where he had a strong focus on Iran's nuclear activities. Michael also served as at the U.S. Embassy in Tel Aviv and is now managing director of the Washington Institute, which works to improve the quality of U.S. Middle East policy. Good to see you, Michael.
Good to see you, Shep.
How much of this is new first?
Well, it's not clear, Shep, how much of it might be new. He said there's 100,000 documents, and so obviously some time would be required, if it's not already been done behind closed doors, to sort of sift through all that and see what we didn't already know. Certainly a lot of it looks familiar, and of course the idea that Iran was not exactly forthcoming about its nuclear weapons program in the past is not new to U.S. policymakers or to really anyone who's been paying attention.
And yet the United States people say that the international inspectors are getting their job done and that Iran is complying with the deal. What would the consequences be, in your estimation, of backing out of it?
Well, just one quick point on that first part, Shep, which is I think the problem identified by the Trump administration is not Iran's compliance with the deal, but it's the deal itself. Is it strong enough? Because, you know, Iran wasn't required to really come clean on this past nuclear weapons work, to admit it. And that's really stopped inspectors from establishing a baseline for their inspection activities. Look, if the U.S. pulls out, Shep, I think, you know, in a sense, we're starting from scratch. We'll try to revive that economic pressure through sanctions, which existed before the deal. And to an extent, private sector firms will have no choice, maybe, but to comply if it's sort of a choice between Iran and the United States markets. But we'll be doing it without the cooperation diplomatically of our partners, who will be pretty upset about it.
And those partners, including the United States, I should say the United Kingdom and Germany, who were just, or I should say in France, who were just here, they seem pretty intent on, okay, we can work on other things. We got to make this deal stick.
That's right. I think that the basic bargain the Trump administration has been driving at is, look, we'll stick with the deal. We'll stay in the JCPOA, the Iran nuclear agreement, if you guys work with us to, number one, correct its flaws, and that's flaws like some of those that we're talking about today, and address Iran's activities more broadly in the Middle East. That's a pretty good bargain if we can get it. You know, if we can't get it, it raises other questions, but, you know, sort of simply withdrawing and sort of throwing all that work out doesn't seem very wise.
The demonstration that Prime Minister Netanyahu gave today reminded me from the UN a couple of years ago. But aside from that, if true, if Mossad or whoever it is was able to get in and get these documents, and they are what the Prime Minister says they are you impressed by that? I mean, it looks like quite a thing.
Well, I mean, certainly, I mean, just the intelligence feat itself is very impressive. I mean, this is a real coup, and I think, you know, the Israelis deserve a lot of commendation for that. Whether or not there's anything in this trove which is substantially new, and even more importantly, Shep, whether it shows that any of this work is ongoing, which would really be the smoking gun, is really the key question. And we got to dig into that, and we probably have to follow up with international inspections as well.
How concerned are you about tensions as it relates to Syria, Iran, and Israel? Our correspondent Connor Powell, who's long time worked there, sounded from his tone like we're getting close.
Well, I can tell you, Shep, from what I understand, the Israelis themselves are pretty worried about it, and therefore I think we should all be worried about it. You know, the Iranians have been trying very hard over the course of years now to really beef up their conventional military presence in Syria right across the border from Israel and from Jordan. And, you know, the Israelis have decided that's simply not tolerable, especially because of the prospect that one day Iran could have nuclear weapons. And then you have a very similar situation to what South Korea faces with North Korea on its border. And so they're determined to preempt that, to stop it from happening, and that could lead to conflict.
Michael Singh, appreciate it. Thank you.
Thank you, Shep.